We're here in Manhattan today on Sunday for the Citigroup building for a news conference with Mayor Bloomberg, Police Commissioner Kelly, and Senator Lieberman on this vitally important program to set up nuclear radiation detectors around Manhattan, around New York City, because we fear that the next attack against New York will come from the suburbs and be launched against Manhattan, and it could well be a dirty bomb. That's why it's so important. Unfortunately, the Obama administration has zeroed out the money, but no money in the budget for it. $40 million is absolutely essential. I was able to get that in the House of Representatives. Now we have to make sure that it makes its way into the final bill that's signed by the President.
The person who represents that governmental body that did this time do better than the Senate, Congressman Pete King. As those of you who have followed the problems that we've had since 9/11, I don't think there's been anybody that has been on the forefront as much as Pete King. He is a great leader. He's done an incredible job representing New York's interests in Washington, especially in the areas of public security and homeland security. And it's my pleasure to always work with him. Pete?
Thank you very much, Mayor Bloomberg. Let me thank you for your leadership, your friendship, and for the direction which you're taking the city of New York with so many issues, particularly on the issue of homeland security. My good friend Joe Lieberman, who I always say he's the conscience of the Senate, he shies away from that, but he is. I've never met anyone in public life with a greater sense of integrity, a greater sense of moral compass than Joe Lieberman. And certainly being able to work with him on the issue of homeland security just reinforces that impression I have of him. Commissioner Kelly is, without a doubt, the leading law enforcement official in the country, the most innovative, the most imaginative, and the most dedicated. And like Senator Lieberman, I'm on the Homeland Security Committee, he's chairman. In the Senate, I'm ranking member in the House. There's several things I've learned from that. Number one is this is a real and ongoing threat. At any given time, at any moment, we have to be concerned about attacks against the mainland in the United States. This is a real enemy. It's not going away. The fact we haven't been attacked in 8 years is because of a lot of hard work and layers of defense. But the enemy is there, and as the events of just the last several weeks have shown, where we have this obvious conspiracy here involving the city of New York, but also we had someone arrested in Illinois attempting to blow up a federal courthouse, in Dallas attempting to blow up an office building, new charges brought against individuals in North Carolina. But again, the one here in New York really drives home the fact of what a threat New York always faces. So, number one, as I said, the fact it's an ongoing threat. Number two, that the New York region, that includes New York, New York City, Long Island, Westchester, Rockland, Connecticut, New Jersey, the entire region is the #1 terrorist target in the world. And as Joe Lieberman said, the nightmare scenario is a dirty bomb, a radiological attack being brought from the outside into a major city such as New York City, particularly in our case, Manhattan. And it's ongoing. And I also know that no other police department in the country, no other law enforcement agency in the world has the amount of resources focused on homeland security, fighting Islamist terrorism, the way the NYPD does. And the layers of defense they've set up, not just here, but even abroad. All of those layers are there, and that's why we haven't been attacked. And that's why Commissioner Kelly's been able to stop a number of very serious attacks against the city. But an integral component of those layers of defense is secure the cities, to protect us against a radioactive, a dirty bomb attack. And it's beyond me how we could not fund that this year. Above all, if anything, the events of the last week have shown how essential it is. So yes, we do have $40 million in the House bill. There's $10 million in the Senate bill. It's essential that we get that full amount. This is money which is absolutely needed. It's a program that's absolutely needed. It's a program that involves life and death. It's a program that if it's not there, and God forbid something did happen, people will be saying, why? How come this program wasn't completed? Why weren't the radiation detectors there? Why weren't these communication systems in place when everything was ready to go? So with that, I again emphasize that with Senator Schumer and Senator Lieberman, we will do all we possibly can, and Congresswoman Clark has done a phenomenal job on this. We will do all we can to have that full amount of funding put in the appropriations bill, because again, there's a lot of things we can learn from what happened over the last several weeks. One is what an outstanding job the NYPD does. Secondly, and probably even more importantly, is how deadly and ruthless and relentless our enemy is. So with that, again, Mayor, thank you for your leadership. Commissioner Kelly, thanks for all that you do. And Joe Lieberman, we'll be going back to Washington to do whatever we can to make sure this money gets in there and stays there. New York needs it. The entire region needs it. Thank you.
Pete, thank you. And I know
Rockefeller Center. This is News 4 New York.
Good evening, and thanks a lot for joining us. Mayor Bloomberg and Police Commissioner Ray Kelly said today they want more money from Congress to protect New York City against terrorist attacks. The request comes in the wake of a foiled plot against the city, and the man at the center of that investigation, Najibullah Zazi, makes his first court appearance this week. Ida Siegel joins us now with the latest on this story. Ida?
Well, DeMarco, the commissioner and the mayor ask for federal money every year. This year, they hope the capture of Najibullah Zazi will make their point crystal clear. You have a suspected terrorist caught targeting New York commuter trains who investigators say has 3 or 4 unknown accomplices still out there. They say now's the time for the federal government to step up to the plate with funding. With Najibullah Zazi now in custody and a major terrorist attack planned for the 9/11 anniversary thwarted, today Mayor Bloomberg and Police Commissioner Kelly started talking about money, the only way, they say, to stop the next terror plot, money they hope to get from the federal government.
If, God forbid, terrorists get their hands on a nuclear weapon, we must have the tools in place to detect it and to stop it.
With additional funding, the $40 million that we're looking for, we'll be able to put in permanent fixed cameras and radiation detection equipment at all the entry points into Manhattan.
They're looking for that $40 million from what's called the Securing the Cities bill, the funding of which is now being considered by both the House and the Senate. The House has proposed $40 million go to New York. The Senate is proposing much less, $10 million to be divided among cities nationwide.
The fact of the matter is, when you catch a terrorist, they have a map of New York in their pocket and not a map of elsewheres.
New York has already received $36 million in federal stimulus money. It will go toward putting more than 100 officers on the subway. Still, Kelly says all the attacks they've been able to prevent so far is almost entirely thanks to New York taxpayers. But now the city needs help.
Beyond me how we could not fund that this year. Above all, if anything, the events of the last week have shown how essential it is.
And President Obama has said for his part he will approve a bill to send $40 million to New York if it passes both the House and the Senate. Meanwhile, Najibullah Zazi is being held at a federal prison in Brooklyn. He is due to appear in court on Tuesday to face charges of conspiracy to use weapons of mass destruction.
Good evening. Welcome to News 12 Long Island. I'm Judy Martin.
And hello to you. I'm Jill Conway. Well, the alleged terror plot targeting the city transit systems is just the latest threat against our area. And now 2 local lawmakers say crucial funding is being cut by the federal government.
News 12 Long Island's Holly Hare tells us what they're doing to protect us against another potential attack.
A plot that was thwarted here in New York shows how the terrorists still have us in their sights.
Talking about the recent arrest of Najibullah Zazi, Congressman Peter King and Senator Charles Schumer said terrorists constantly focus on New York. Zazi is the man prosecutors say was making explosives from hydrogen peroxide and other chemicals in a plot against the city.
We are a target. We're the #1 target in the world. And some people tend to forget that.
That's why Schumer and King say they're pushing Congress to spend $40 million on a program that would detect nuclear bombs and dirty bombs, bombs with radioactive materials. As News 12 Long Island has reported, local police have been working hard to stop people from detonating bombs like that. However, the lawmakers say the latest Homeland Security budget cut funding for a program that's already underway to set up monitoring devices.
And it's going to be in the bridges, the tunnels, highways, parkways, every means of entrance into the city.
It's not all about Manhattan, though. The senator and congressman say experts worry terrorists could set up shop on Long Island, so some of the surveillance points could be right along the Nassau-Queens border.
The $40 million applies to equipment and technology, but that would be used in New York City, Nassau, Suffolk, all of the police departments involved in this program.
While the technology would not have detected the bomb Zazi is accused of making, the lawmakers say the alleged plot shows why the federal government cannot shortchange this area.
When the federal government can help us out, they should be there.
In Manhattan, Holly Hare, News 12 Long Island.